there, Board Game Maniacs, and thanks for joining me for another episode of Painting with a Maniac. Before we get into this episode, I just want to talk a little bit about the video we did for the 2022 update about my wife. Just a little bit of information about my wife. She is healing. Her surgery went well. She's healing. She's on the mend. And we are just waiting to find out more information about her chemo and radiation when she's starting this. So again, I thank everybody that has been giving us support along the way, keeping the comments and the likes and subscribes going and everything. So I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for sticking through the tough times with us. I know we haven't put out much videos. I think for the month of January I put out one, which was the HeroQuest unboxing, the new HeroQuest. And again, hopefully this one will come out before the end of February, which I'm sure it will. And I'm trying to slowly get back on track. But again, the videos are going to be coming sporadic until I know that my wife Shelly is out of the woods 100%. So please just hang on there. If you want to see any specific videos on the channel, whether it is painting or what have you, except for the new HeroQuest, because this is what I've been starting to work on now for Shane, because he bought into the whole pledge. You can see the whole pledge thing into our channel from where we did the unboxing for. But now I'm going to be doing this for Shane, and I might as well do two things at once, which is painting for my buddy Shane, but also getting content for the channel, which is really good. And this is what we're going to be doing. We're starting off the content with painting the Barbarian. Now, we already did a comparison about what the miniatures looked like before and after, like the old miniatures compared to the new ones, and they're drastically different. Now, it is a little different. I really like the pose for this, but again, I'm old school. I really like the old HeroQuest. I can't wait until we play this on the channel, which we certainly will be doing. You may even actually be running with using the app for the bad guys instead of, I keep on saying that because I'm trying to remember the name of the evil. It's I can't believe we played so much of this and I can't even remember. My brain's just not functioning right now. Zoltan, Zoltar, something like that. It begins with a Z anyhow, but I lost my train of thought. And yeah, we're going to be painting this Barbarian up right here. And what I plan on doing is trying to get as much content for the new HeroQuest, like the painting and then the playing. And I might even go as far as building a board for it, because it's just, I always wanted to play HeroQuest in three-dimensional, more so than what it is. And they do give you like the cutouts and everything else and the furniture and that, but I want to build the walls and that. And I found a really cool tutorial where a YouTuber built a HeroQuest board, which I'm probably going to be following and just changing up a little bit on my end. But I'm going to give a shout out to him too as well, because it's a phenomenal video series that he did. So inspiring. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name, but I will find out what it is and when we're going to start doing a HeroQuest board. If I'm going to record it, then by all means, I'll be giving him credit, because he is awesome at building what he did. That was sweet. So anyhow, there's the Barbarian. Long intro, but anyhow, there we go. Let's start into this painting. You can see here the comparison between the original Barbarian and the Barbarian from the new updated version of HeroQuest here. Pretty interesting. You know, you can see there's a definite scale difference into it, because this Barbarian is a lot bigger. He looks more realistic, I think, too, as well. But again, when HeroQuest came out, this was like really cool, the style of it and everything. So they definitely have just, you know, kept the same amount of the little details, you know, in both of them. So like you can see here, like the belt buckle he has here. He has a belt buckle here too, so, but I think this one's like a lion, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll look into this more when we are going to be playing it. And you can see here he has the scratches onto his chest. Into the picture, we'll go over the character card in just a second there. But again, that is the comparison you can see between the original and the other one. I'm really cool. I like doing these comparisons to see, you know, just what the differences are in that. But you can see the sword length is kind of the same. Actually, the original Barbarian, his sword is a little bit longer than the other Barbarian. Anyhow, let's go on and look at his character card. There's the card. There's the card for the Barbarian. And you can see, like, The cards are smaller, I find. They're more manageable, which is really cool. I do miss the size of the other cards, though, to be honest, because again, it's just nostalgia. Anyhow, you can see he has the scratches or the scars on his chest there, and there's a lot of like blues and browns here for like the leather, and then the other part of the whatever this type of material is. It could be dyed blue leather, but I don't think they had dyed blue leather back then. But anyhow, that is a blue there. You can see he has like the fur onto him, and he's got the accents there, and his big sword kind of looks more stonish instead of metal, if that makes sense. So, and he's got the lion onto it for his chuck or his guard onto his sword. So that's pretty cool. And we don't really know what did these, but again, attack dice 3, defend dice 2, starting points 8 body and mind 2, movement 2 red dice. Starting weapon is a broadsword, and starting armor is none. And on the back, I got a little story about the Barbarian. You are the Barbarian, the greatest warrior of all, but beware of magic, for your sword is no defense against it. Ooh, really, really cool. So anyhow, we're going to start off with the painting. You can see here that I already did the prep work for the Barbarian. I didn't have to record it, but if anybody wants to see me recording prep work, just by all means comment below and I'll certainly record that step too as well. But just to explain what I did is I didn't use an airbrush. I used rattle cans, and I based them all out in black first. You can see the undertone is the black. And then after I did that, I went on probably about a 65-degree angle with a gray color, and 65-degree angle for the gray color. Let's see if I can kind of represent with the brush the angle. And this is all done with rattle cans. So I kind of went at this angle here. So the tip of my brush there is the angle. So I did that with the gray. And then on top of that, when the black dried, and then I did the gray, and then when the gray dried, I changed my angle with white, and I did more of like a 75-degree angle possibly. I'm not that great with the different types of angles, but anyhow, this kind of angle right here, and I sprayed, so that creates which is called zenithal highlight. I wanted more of the white showing than the black and the gray, and the reason why is because primarily what we're going to be painting this with is contrast paint, and it works best with white undertone. So that's why I kind of primarily went with that, but you don't have to use contrast paint. There's many other colors that you can use in different paint lines. Like I'm probably going to be using possibly like Army Painter as well as Citadel paint for this. So just be aware, mix and match, switch around, you know. Anyhow, so you can see there that this is what I primed him with. And the type of rattle cans I use is just the cheapest rattle cans I can find at like my local superstore, like Walmart or anything like that. And I just made sure that they were flat. Flat black, flat gray, and flat white when I did spray. So just so we're aware of that. And the first thing we're going to do now is we are going to just do all of the Barbarian's flesh, because number one, it is the most on him, the largest area to cover, and also too as well is when I work with contrast paint, I try to do the lightest colors first and then work over with the darkest. And the reason why is because the darkest can hide your mistakes you make with the lightest colors, and I make a lot of mistakes, face it. All right, anyhow, so let's start off with the Guilliman Flesh. I think it's called Guilliman Flesh if I'm not mistaken. Here it is, yeah, contrast. Guilliman Flesh, and I'm going to be using my wet palette from Army Painter for this. No, Army Painter is not sponsoring me. I let everybody know what I'm using so that if you want to get the same stuff, you can. And, you know, if I ever use any paints I don't like, I'll certainly let everybody know for sure. So anyhow, let's go on with the skin painting first. Here we go. I got my Guilliman Flesh into my wet palette. I'm ready. You know, just a word of advice here too as well, and that is that I am not a professional painter by no means, so, you know, explore your own style and find out what you might. Always use videos on YouTube for all the other painters just to make sure, like, hey, this is what they're using, so I'm going to try this and see what kind of, I got to see if I can get more in focus here because my camera's acting stupid. I may have to take it off autofocus. But it's nothing a surprise of what I'm doing. And even though that I'm going with the lightest and darkest, I'm still going to try to stay within the lines, is kind of, And that was a bad example because I got it a little bit on his hair right there. But in either case, the reason why I'm still going to stay within the lines, or at least try to, is because, oops, with this stuff here, I do a lot of oopses. The contrast paint, by going light to dark and adding the dark and everything else, like, I still want to try to avoid getting it on parts that I don't necessarily need to have paint on. And the reason being is because some colors they're going to be a little bit darker than the light color that you put on first, and because of that, the thing is it's just, you're going to see the bands or the colors or what have you into there, and I don't like that. So just showing you here while I'm rambling on and painting, where I'm painting his back here, I'm not using any more contrast paint. I'm not dipping, and the reason why is because I'm just trying to move the contrast paint around to get it to pool where I want it to. It's really good, and again, constantly cleaning my brush off because I'm just like that. So I'm just going to a smaller brush just to get a little bit more detail. And this is a 0 brush. I don't know in regards, that's the name of it. Again, just brushes that I got. My wife got them for me for Christmas, and they were better than my other brushes because my other brushes look like they went through hell and back. So that's it there. So again, hope you can see this. I'm kind of in focus here. My big noggin's not in the way because that always gets in the way. But I'm just going up as carefully as possible, and because he's got like the white accent fur onto his legs and everywhere else, you don't have to be too, see, look, I got some flesh color there. You don't have to be too worried if you get it on the white part that's going to be white, because you can always paint over it again with some white paint that is not contrast paint that's opaque, that you can't see through it. So you can always add up to that too as well. So because of this, I'm not going to bore everybody with, oh, how do you do this? It's not how do you do this, but it's the same. I'm just applying the contrast paint very easily and cautiously over the entire model, just moving it around so it pools the way I want it to pool. It's just kind of like a little extra help to where I want it to go. And once I'm done with that and he's dry, I'll be back and we'll go on to the next step, because I don't want to bore you with doing this, because I'm sure you will have better things to do. Maybe, if my camera stops. Now that the contrast paint is dry for the skin, the Guilliman flesh, you can see there, I kind of pulled it. We are far from done with the Guilliman flesh for now, because we are going to be doing some highlighting and everything else. But you can see from where I kind of forcefully pooled the, or controlled where I wanted to pull for the Guilliman flesh. You can see I kind of just made it a little bit more thicker for the back and the back muscles and so forth. And with the legs and that, so that is a good start for the Guilliman flesh for it. So now we are going to just continue on from that. We're going to do another light color while we're in this kind of realm of the browns and so forth. And if you look at this card here, what's interesting is this color brown right here. It's a leather, and he got it here too as well, and you can see there's a little bit onto him there. And for the color that I'm going to use for that, it's going to be Fire Slayer Flesh. And the reason why is because it does have brown into it, but it looks like it's got a little bit of reddish color into it as well. And then where we're using contrast, and white's going to be showing through a little bit. What I decided to go with is the contrast paint Fire Slayer Flesh. You can see it right there. And that is the color that I'm choosing for. Again, if I don't like it, then I'm going to just paint over it with white and go again, or just a different color contrast paint that's darker. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to paint all the brown with the Fire Slayer Flesh. Here we go with the Fire Slayer Flesh for the brown. And I'm hoping I'm not going to screw up where I'm putting the brown, because I was looking and you can see like the details that are here where it kind of goes down, because if you compare it to the card, I'm crossing camera there, I apologize. You can see there kind of like the way the angle is, so we're going to do that. So I'm going to lay this down, grab a little bit of the Fire Slayer flesh, and we are going to start. So hopefully my nugget's not going to be in the way. So again, I'm just doing it this way. Now if I find that this here is too similar to the Gilliman's flesh tone, then obviously we're going to be changing it, because we don't want it to be that similar that it's going to just blend in, because that just would suck. Maybe you can see a little better because I angle it more at the camera. There we go. So yeah, and again, we're just controlling the pooling. As much as we can control the pooling, and we have to be very careful with this here. I don't get it on the leg. Well, you're not going to notice too much if it is on the leg, because it is very close. We're probably going to have to change it up a little bit. But we can do that easily. It just, I don't have that color. And we may have to invent that color a bit, but time will tell once we let this all fully dry, and we'll see how close it is to the flesh tone, and if we can actually do it, like use it with this color. Do we have to intensify it or dull it down, or just really totally just redo it? So anyhow, I'm just going to again move around all that stuff, and I will be back when this is dry and we will start on with the next color. While this contrast paint is drying, the one I just put on, the Fire Slayer flesh, what I did is I just took another mixture just to add into it, because I wasn't crazy over Blood Angel red contrast, just a very slight color, so it kind of gives a little bit of a reddish hue to it. And you can see here where I just started putting it down, and it's kind of, you can see there's a big differentiation now between the skin color and the leather color. So that's what we're aiming for. And how I did that, it was more of the Fire Slayer flesh and a little bit of the red added to it, the Blood Angels red, and you get this color here. So because it is contrast, it is still keeping its translucency, but it's got both colors into it. So you're going to see a little bit of the red, you're going to see a little bit of the brown, and you're also going to see a little bit of the white showing through. See, this is getting dry. This is what I was trying to do, is race to get this part done, but I had to go on camera to show you because it was an important step. And again, I'm learning as I go along here. I'm not a professional painter, so you can enjoy this painting just for background noise while you paint, or you can follow along with it and paint yours. It's totally up to you. But the thing is painting is kind of like, it's an expression. And you are going to be able to express yourself whatever way you want. No matter if you don't want to follow the artwork or whatever. Like, I got some things that I have to do for Shane for some certain couple of characters into it. And when we encounter that, then I will explain to you about what I'm doing. It's a little strange, but if you've been watching the HeroQuest episodes from the original HeroQuest that's on our channel, you'll certainly understand when I say what I'm doing. But right now, I'm going to continue painting this brown because he still has like that color on his feet, and he's also going to have, like I said, the little bits of fur underneath his bracelet. So when that is all done, we'll be back and I'll show you where we are at. While we're waiting for the mixture again of the contrast Blood Angels red and the contrast Fire Slayer flesh, with that mix again, the ratio, it's more of the Fire Slayer than what it is the red. While that's drying, we're going to talk about the next color we're going to do, which is going to be the bluish color. So you can see here, like, he has blue here, he has blue here, and here on the handle of his sword or hilt. So that's what we're going to accomplish next. And the color we are going to try to use for that is going to be ultramarine blue contrast. It is a Citadel contrast color again. You know, that blue is a very like dark blue. There's no vibrancy about it. So we may change that a bit if I don't like the look of it, but we're going to try to stick as close to this as possible. So let's get ready and paint that while the other colors is drying. Here we go with the ultramarine blue contrast paint by Citadel. And I'm trying to keep my brush with a little bit more than normal paint. You got to be careful because up here is part of his fur, so we don't want to try to get that, but we can always just paint it white with white again if it's not going to work. So I'm just going to be as careful as possible. Hopefully I'm on camera. The angle's good enough. Just like so. And be very careful. Gotta get underneath there a bit. No. See, this is a very dark blue, but again, after I put this on and it dries, I'm going to see if there's anything else that we need to do with it to try to make it look more presentable or more closer to the color that's on the card itself. But again, if you can go with your own interpretation, and Shane has no problem with me kind of going outside of the realm a bit, which is fine. So after I'm done painting all of the blue, we'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like when it's dry. Since all the paint is dry so far, just take a look at what we have so far. Well, it's not completely dry, but you know, it's getting there. And you can see the ultramarine blue. I kind of like that, but I'm gonna brighten it up when I'm doing highlights. And I also paint a little bit of the white around where I made some mistakes, just to help clean up a little bit as I go along, obviously. The next thing we're gonna do, what I noticed is he has like rope wrapped around his feet to help hold his shoes on. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint the rope and everything with Cyborg Brown. Again, it's another contrast paint from Citadel. And it's going to be pretty easy because it's only a little tiny bit that we have to do here. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of Cyborg Brown. And I just want to be careful so that I don't get a little too messy. Just like that. And he also has one that goes across. Am I even in frame? Jeez. He has a rope that goes across this way. Now another thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint all the ropes, and also too, as well as like the sole of his slippers or sandals. Going to paint that too as well. You can see there's some more rope that is going on. So after all that's done, I'll be back because again, I have to get really close to it to see, and my noggin's going to be in the way, so I'll be back when I'm done painting that. The next thing that I want to try to do, it's not on the character card, but I think it added pretty interesting if I'm able to do it properly. And that is, you can see he has some etchings or engravings onto the blade of his sword on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I want to make them stand out or kind of like stand out further from the color of the blade and that. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to take some contrast paint from Citadel. It's a Talisar blue. It's kind of vibrant, and we're going to put that onto the blade just for into the etchings part, and we're going to see if that's going to do anything. Excuse the creaking of all my chairs if it's picking it up. I'm just trying to keep my big noggin out of frame of camera, and that is the hardest part to do. So first off, again, I'm going to use that blue and making sure we got it on camera properly. There we go. And I'm only going to fill in this part itself. Like, I'm not going over the entire sword, because the sword in the artwork, if you can recall, it looks metalish, but it also looks stone too as well. So maybe it's a metal stone sword. I don't see why it'd be a stone sword, but you never know. So anyhow, we're going to leave that blue dry, and then we're going to come back with a color to put on top for the blade, and it's going to be plate mail metal. And again, this here is an army painter color, plate mail metal. That's going to be going on after the blue is dry, and we'll do that once we are back. Now that we got the sword painted, again with the silver, I also did where the other metal is onto his wrists. You can see there a big wrist one there and the wrist one there too as well. And it turned out okay, but I got to think too is like the wash that's going to go on it and everything. I mean, for the sword where I was trying to be like, oh, those etchings could be glowing or what have you. But we're going to take it another step. This could be totally wrong, but you know, we don't know unless we try and we do some experimenting. We are going to take Basilican Gray contrast paint and we're going to put it on the sword now. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Is it too dark? Or because again, I wanted to get kind of like that metal slash rock kind of color. I know I could do it with other colors too as well, but I'm trying to get it a different way, trying to experiment, that's all. So Basilican Gray, just going to try it on the tip for a second. Possibly. So we're just going to get down, we're going to try to avoid that blue again. I'm already not liking this the way it's going, but you don't know unless you are going to experiment and try to find your own way. Oh, there, got it. There we go. Now he's back on. Now, this Basilican Gray it's really gray. It's making it look really dirty looking. And what I'm probably going to do is either get rid of this Basilican Gray, or just kind of, you know, keep playing around with it while it is drying. So I don't want to bore you with this. I might just strip it off. We'll see, but I'll be back after this is dry and we'll see what we're going to do. We may just paint it back silver. Maybe. Hope you're enjoying this battle report. Just remember, if you want to become an official sponsor of Board Game Maniacs, head over to patreon.com/BoardGameManiacs to become an official sponsor. Select one of the tiers and get benefits that normal subscribers do not get. Check it out. Links in the description. The Basilican Gray is almost dry. You can see that I really worked it around because I'm going to have to add like a stone color, but it don't make sense if I want to make his sword stone. But it don't really make sense why his sword would be stone. It would be metal, but all beaten up. So with this Basilican Gray, I kind of moved it around the edging to make it, you know, just show off all the little indents and everything in the chips out of his brush. And I know we can throw some wash on this too as well. But I might just kind of keep it like that. I like the way it looks. It's dirty. It's definitely a big sword that he's been using for a long time. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do all the other metal work onto him before he touches here. And the metal work, what we're going to be doing is actually another army painter color. It is greedy gold. So that's the metal color we're going to paint onto his sword, the hilt of his sword, or the block, whatever you want to call it. So this part, as well as this part, and we are going to paint the lion's head right there. That's going to be interesting to try to paint because, yeah, it'll just be interesting. So let's just go ahead and start doing that, shall we? I'm going to attempt to paint this on camera, but the thing is my noggin might get in the way, and if it's going to start getting in the way, then I am just going to turn off the camera and get in there, because there's some spots I find that I just can't find the right camera setup. But you can see here the tiger. What we're doing here, oh, not in the way. Just trying to get the metal part here to avoid the white fur and everything else. So like that, but I've got to stretch it out a little bit. Just a little bit. And it would help if I used the right brush. I put my brush down for a minute, and apparently I grabbed the wrong brush. So I'll just have to try to do with this. Just like that. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to keep painting the hilt of the sword and that, and I'll be back, because you don't really need to see that, because you know I'm painting it with gold. There's nothing else I'm doing with it. No tricks. Now that all the gold is painted, there wasn't a lot of gold to paint. It was just kind of like the sword and the the head right there, the metal head. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to paint the hair, and we're going to be using Citadel's Black Templar for this. And the reason why is because I really like when I use, this is one of my favorite colors, I think, and the reason why is because when you put it on the hair, or on whatever is painted white underneath it, this hair really just like showing up a lot. Like, I really like this. So, Black Templar it is, onto the hair. So, we'll start out here. I keep knocking down stuff. Hang on one second there, everybody. Sorry. All right. So, Black Templar. Just like so. Get it more in shot here. Just very gentle. Should have used a smaller brush, but oh well. Too bad for me. I just grabbed this brush. The reason why I'm saying I should grab the smaller, another brush is because the bristles are a little too big for this small area that I'm putting it on. It's more of kind of like a flat brush instead of, you know, the tip brush. But anyhow, I'm going to stop the video and I'll finish painting it. Once he is done with the black, we'll be back to paint the next part. Now that the color is dry onto him, and again, I just went over with a little bit more white. You can see down here around the bottom of his legs, his ankles part, I painted the white for the, because I noticed that it's supposed to be the fur there. So I kind of fixed that, and everything else is pretty much, I didn't do anything except paint his hair black with the Black Templar. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on painting his base. Again, we're doing all the base colors before we do the washes and so on. So I know it's contrast paint, but sometimes doing some wash on contrast paint even makes it look better. And we're going to try that. But we're going to paint the base a solid color of uniform gray. And that's also including like the rock he's standing on and so forth. So it's nothing special that we're going to be painting. Just very simple uniform gray over all of the base, and that's pretty much it for that part, for the base colors I should say, because once this is all dry we are going to start doing some wash onto him. And there's no special trick or secret to painting this uniform gray onto the base, because it's just painting it, that's all it is. And we're going to paint the rim black obviously when we're done, but anyhow, we're not done yet. We're getting close to just all the base work done before we start the washes. So I'm going to do all the base work and then we'll let that dry. We'll be back and we'll start on the wash. For the wash, again, we're going to start off with the skin. And I know what you're saying, probably saying is like you're using contrast paint where it does the highlight and contour all together. Why are you going to put shadow onto it? Well, I'm still going to put wash and probably a little bit of highlight onto it too as well. Again, we're playing this by ear as we go along. But anyhow, we are going to be using this color here, which is Recklin Flesh Shade, to go on all the skin for a wash. But the way we did this though is it's pretty much half and half almost. So if you can see in there, I put like 4 drops of Recklin Flesh Shade with a dropper and then 3 drops of water. So it's a little bit more concentration of the flesh shade than what it is water, but it's still going to create more of a transparency. So at this point, we're just going to put the wash out on just the skin and see if this is going to start providing like more of an even tone to the skin in general, where it's going to help fill in all of the recesses or the shadow part, but also still make it nice and even. And we're going to try to avoid the white for now anyhow for the Recklin, and again avoid anything else. Not even on camera here, jeez. So avoid anything else that you can without touching, you know, the white or any of the other lighter colors. The dark colors is going to be okay if you go over it, because you're not going to really see that much of a difference into it. But again, the white, you will definitely see a difference. So you can see it's already kind of making more of an even tone. And again, I'm putting it all on his face too as well. His hands, you name it, I'm putting it onto it. Anywhere where it's showing skin, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to just kind of move around like I did with the contrast, but not as much. I'm going to let the wash kind of just sit where it is and dry, and hopefully it's going to even out the skin tone a little bit more. It's going to grab more of the recesses for sure, and it should do an overall even tone to help with that contrast Guilliman's flesh I put on. But anyhow, once this is all done and dried, I'll be back and we'll take a look at it and we'll approach it from there, but I think we should be okay. Also too as well, while I'm still applying this and you know, just moving it around, you can see the scratch marks or the scars that were onto his chest, onto the left pectoral muscle. Jeez, I can't even talk right now. But you can see it right there. And what I did with that is when I was painting the skin tone, I totally forgot to do it on camera, but I took Blood Angel's Red on a very fine brush and I just traced in them lines there. And this Blood Angel Red was after when I put the skin tone on, and now because I'm putting on the Guilliman flesh, not the Guilliman flesh, sorry, the Recklin flesh shade kind of toned down, you can see the red is kind of popping up a little bit more, which is good. So after I'm done with this and he's all dry, I'll be back and we'll continue on to our adventure. Now that the Recklin flesh shade is dry, you can see it definitely kind of evened out the tone of his skin very nicely. We may not have to put much highlights on this, if any at all, because I'm liking the way it turned out. So the next thing we're going to do is we're still continuing on with the washes, and the wash we are going to use now is a 50-50 mix of Agrax Earth Shade. It is by Citadel, and where I said 50-50, we're only going to be putting it onto the sword, the fur, like everything but the skin is pretty much, and the base. We're not putting it on the base. We're going to treat that with a different wash. So again, 50-50, it's, you know, 50% Agrax Earth Shade and 50% water. And again, I'm just trying to avoid the skin as much as possible, but I do want to get all of those, the fur areas and so on. So again, yeah, just adding it along, it's, you know, not too hard. And then after you add it along, after I added it, like with a lot of this wash and everything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over with just a damp brush with nothing onto it and help with the pooling, because I really don't want this to pool too much, because it's going to go on the skin and it's going to throw it off the look and everything. So we just have to be sure of that. And we're just going to actually put it on the blade too as well, just like this. You can see I'm kind of tilted it too far. And his hair is black already, but it does have, because of the contrast paint, it has a little bit of light spots here and there. But that's pretty much it. Now we're going to leave this dry, and after this is all dry, we are going to go in with another wash. And then after the other wash is dry, then we are going to start doing some highlighting probably. So yeah, you can see it there. Gonna let him dry and then we will be back. Now with the washes applied and it's drying, again, I said there's one more wash and we're just gonna put it on the base, and that is going to be dark tone. It's an Army Painter quick shade. And we're not watering it down or what have you. We are just adding it like it is, all over the top of the base. When I say the top of the base, I mean like the top part of the base, because we're going to be painting the rim solid black. But again, we still have so much more stuff to do with this. So we just have to keep going, keep pushing through, pausing it when we need to get a drink or, you know, whatever we want. But in either case, that's it for the tone of it. And we're going to leave it sit, and once it's dry, we'll be back again and we'll look at it to assess about the highlights, where we need to put the highlights. With all the wash dry and even like the dark tone on the bottom here, we're going to start going on with some highlights. Now, His skin tone, I like it dark, but I'm just going to add a little bit of highlights to it. Again, you don't have to, if you use the contrast paint, excuse me, hiccups again. If you use the contrast paint and you're okay with the color of it, because it did turn out, it was nice, I like it, but I just want to bump it up a little bit more for the skin tone. And the way I'm going to bump it up a little bit more is I'm going to take some Army Painter's Barbarian Flesh, and I'm just going to more or less dry brush over. I'm not going to like really paint in super details or anything like that. This is just going to be all dry brush work, and it's going to be very, very little dry brush. So I'm just going to take a little bit of Barbarian Flesh onto my brush. This isn't your traditional dry brush, but I just want it to be a little bit more accurate with it. So now I'm going to pull it over here so you can see. So it's kind of like edge highlighting slash dry brushing, I guess, because I'm just slowly going over spots just to lighten up some areas, like his bicep and everything. So again, you don't have to do this part if you don't want to, but I like doing it. So again, I'm just adding it and I'm just taking it away just slightly. Again, this is super light pressure and all dry brushed with very little. You can see it's kind of popping out his skin tone and his muscles and highlights. So after I'm done with this, I'll be back, but just remember, it's just very, very little on your brush because we don't want to push it too much. Yours may be darker, yours may be brighter, you might not even need the step, but after I'm done with the skin tone for Barbarian Flesh for the dry brush, I'll be back. The Barbarian Flesh is all applied. Dry brush, you can see it's bringing out the nice tone in his muscles and so forth. So I'm really happy with the color it is. So the next thing I'm going to do now is going to be, we are going to fix the blue onto him. And we used contrast ultramarine. This time we are going to highlight with ultramarine Army Painter. So this here color is a little bit lighter than what the blue is for the ultramarine and the contrast, so that's why we're going to do it that way, and hopefully we're going to be able to do this properly. Just grab my right brush here. So I'm kind of going to do the same technique, which is kind of like a little bit of ultramarine blue, and then I'm going to take some of it off. I'm not using a dry brush though, and I'm just trying to pick out the spots where it's going to show up more. I hope it's going to be on camera a little bit, because it is the same blue, but this blue is a lot darker. I should say the contrast ultramarine blue, and then with the wash on it's a little darker. So we're just going to bump things up a bit here. So again, just lightly going by and doing the edging. No, just barely. You can't really notice too much of a difference. It is a little lighter, but we are also going to apply another highlight on top of that too as well. So after I'm done doing the highlighting with the ultramarine blue, we'll apply the next highlight to the blue. You can see there the ultramarine blue is over the ultramarine contrast blue, and you can definitely see it's a little lighter, but again, that's because of the wash too as well that I did for the blue. Now on top of that, we are going to just highlight a little bit more with the blue too as well. And the way we're doing this is we mixed matte white and a little bit of the ultramarine Army Painter. So the matte white that we did use, again, is from Army Painter. And we also use the ultramarine blue, that is from the Army Painter too as well. You can see there. And now, we're just going to highlight a little bit more while the paint is still slightly wet, so that we can kind of do a little bit of a gentle wet blend. So again, you have a little bit of the ultramarine blue mixed with the white onto the tip of the brush. And then again, it's more like edge highlighting than anything, and then you can kind of bring up a little bit of the spots form. So it's not too difficult to do, because all you're doing is you're trying to bring out this material. Like don't know if it's a leather material or what have you, but the whole point is just to give it some highlight so that, you know, it's going to show up a little bit more again, but it's only very little bit of highlight that we're doing. You can see there, and we're going to continue that too as well, because we are going to do it onto the other parts of the blue accent, and then when we're back, we'll go on with the next color that we're going to do the highlighting. So stand by. We're going to start dealing with the leather brown that you see that's around right here, and onto his boots a bit too as well, and he's got like leather here too as well. And what we're going to do for some highlighting, the first highlight color, maybe the only highlight color we'll know when we look, it's going to be Army Painter's Fur Brown that we're going to be doing, and it's just, again, basic highlighting, just little bits. I'm going to use a little bit of a wider brush here, just so we can get more of the detail, like a nice even flow with this brown. I got to find it where I put it in my wet palette. There we go. Just getting a little bit of dry brush onto it. Just going to move some stuff out of the way here. All right, so like right against his leg, right here, like an edge highlighting. And then moving down, just to give a little bit of highlighting. I kind of forgot what I was going to say there. So some edge highlighting like so. And I'm just going to take my finger and kind of dab it, just to kind of break up this harsh edge that's here. Hopefully you can see that. There you go. So I like using my finger when I'm blending, because it does give a nice soft transition. And the thing is I've used this method a lot when I've been painting prosthetics and doing monster makeup in the film industry too as well, because it really helps this little tiny step of putting a little bit of paint on and then, you know, blending it with your finger. Just make sure your fingers are clean is probably the only thing, and the camera's in focus would be good too as well. So again, I'm just putting it on the edge, highlighting, and I'm thickening it up there. Now you can see like all the dark where the wash went. I'm trying to avoid touching that as much as possible because I want it to still show them folds. So there you go. So that's pretty easy. I'm going to just keep doing this round with all the brown, and then when I'm done I'll be back, and we may not actually need the other highlighter onto it. We'll see when we come back. You can see it's very subtle what I did for the highlighting on both the blue and the brown, obviously. And the next highlight color we're going to do, I'm trying to thinking and talking, is we're going to brighten up all the white fur around it. And again, all it is we're going to use matte white, such from Army Painter. You can see there, matte white. We're going to do this, and we're just going to dry brush too as well. I don't really have to show you how I'm dry brushing that, but you know what? I might as well just use, while on camera, why not? I'm going to use this dry brush number 5 to do some dry brushing onto the fur for the white. So with the matte white, dip some on my brush and get rid of the excess. And now, again, this is going to be very slight. And all I'm doing is I'm going over the white, trying not to hit any other part to bring this up. So again, it's not too much white that I have to worry about around his boots too as well. I hope you can see that. Just like that. My big head stuck in the way again, I wonder. So again, I'm just dry brushing the white fur. Just kind of make it stand out a bit. Now, what you could do too as well if you wanted to is you can dry brush more stuff But I'm going to switch the size of my brush and not use a dry brush for this part, but it is still kind of like a wider brush, but not meant for dry brush. It's a number 2, see right there. And the reason why I'm switching is just so that I can get around his waist without making as much of a mess, because it's just a smaller brush, right? And all these little things of just, you know, dry brushing to make the white pop out in certain areas, it's just, again, it's just going to add that much more great look to your miniature. So I'm going to continue with the white in all the spots, and I'll be back after that. With almost all of the highlights done, what we're going to do is we're just going to switch to the base a little bit. You can see from where I dry brushed the white before I go on, where it's showing up with the fur and around the boots and so on. So I also did, it was off camera, I kind of just brushed a little bit of white onto the head, just to give a little bit of like definition into it, besides just being black and a little bit of gray. Got some more white into it. And the next step we're going to do now is we are going to take some ash gray, it's the Army Painter War Paint, and we're going to dry brush it all on the top of the base here. I always love using this combination of uniform gray and ash gray when I'm dealing with any of like the bases from, well, obviously HeroQuest, but anywhere that it's like stonework and that for the bases, I like that. So again, we're just going to gently apply it on here. Actually, should be on camera better. All right, so again, we're just dry brushing over the base. Make sure we got that nice rock face that is on for the base, because I really like the look at this. It looks really cool, because as we all know, the original base for the HeroQuest was just a flat like so. But now they added a little bit more detail to it. So I'm gonna highlight this with the white finish dry brushing, just, you know, to make sure you get all of the high points and the edges and so forth. And when this is all done, I'm going to paint this with the matte black Army Painter, and then we'll be back. And when I say paint this, I mean the rim, and we'll take a look at what it is, because I think we are very close to being finished here. I'm very pleased with this. The only thing I want to do is I just want to brighten up the edges of the sword and probably put a little bit of blood or something on the sword. Actually, I'm going to leave them clean with no blood, because I like the blood. I don't know if Shane, well, Shane likes blood too as well, but I'll keep them clean for now. The only thing, I'm going to brighten up the edges of the sword, and I'm going to use the Army Painter's War Paint Shining Silver. So we're just going to do some edge highlighting with this. Very easy, very simple to do. We just take a small brush, like so. And we are going to go to my wet palette, grab some of the Shining Silver. And we're just going to edge highlight the sword just a little bit, just to bring it a little bit more of a glare to it, like to show that it's sharp, or to make it seem like it's sharp. And I'm not being like too precise with it, because again, this sword has been, it looks like they got the crap beat out of it a lot of times. There's dents, cut marks, you name it, into it. So because of that, we are just doing the edge, and maybe just a little bit up more, just to kind of make it show off a little bit more. And again, just use my finger just to blend it in a little bit. And what you do with one side, we got to do to the other side. Oh yeah. It's got very quiet all of a sudden. I don't want to cut myself on the sword, so I got to be very gentle. Got to concentrate here, because, you know, off with your finger, or off with your head, whatever you want. So again, I'm just bringing up this high point too as well onto the sword. Just slightly, because the sword is got a bevel onto it, kind of. So this part here is going to go down, and that is about it. So we'll let that dry, and I will be back. With them all painted up now, the only last step, and I'm not going to show this on camera, but I'll show you what I use. Primarily what I'm using is Army Painter's clear matte, you can see right there, anti-shine matte varnish is what I'm using to seal my miniatures. I've been using this for probably about a month and a half, I guess, and I really like how this seals it. I find it got a little bit of a strong scent to it, so if you're going to be sealing, it's good to wear a mask or in a well-ventilated area to give like 2 even spray coats onto it, let one coat dry, then the other coat and dry, and then protect your miniatures. Now let's look at the final Barbarian miniature finished in all its glory. And there you have it, the Barbarian from the new HeroQuest edition 2022, painted up completely to match as close as possible to his Barbarian card that you can see, get it focus, right there. So anyhow, there is the Barbarian, and that is the Barbarian in all his glory. I hope you like this episode of Painting with the Maniac. I know it's been a long time, like I said, but if you're not sure why I haven't been posting so much, just jump onto the our Board Game Maniacs YouTube channel and you can check out the 2022 channel update where it'll explain everything. Now, if you enjoyed this Painting with the Maniac episode for the Barbarian, just comment down below and let me know if you'd like to see me painting the core characters too as well, because I want to paint them all. I'm going to paint them all, but whether I paint them all on camera or not on camera is totally up to you. So comment below and let me know what you would like to see. Would you like to see me painting more on camera, or would you like to just not bother seeing and I'll just go from there. Also too as well, just let everybody know that I'm going to be trying to get out as much videos as I can in the future. And if you have any questions whatsoever about anything to do with Board Game Maniacs, don't hesitate to email us at boardgamemaniacs@gmail.com. And what I would like to do is, if you painted up your Barbarians, I would love to see pictures of what you painted up. And to do that, again, just send us a photo of your Barbarian pictures that you painted up for boardgamemaniacs@gmail.com. And what I may do is I may pick out like the best 4 that I think is the best, because I know there's a lot of painters that are way better than me, because again, you can tell from this, I'm far from a professional painter, but I am building up my skill. Now, what I'd like to do is get some pictures of everybody else, and I'm going to put them all together and we're going to talk about it, because I'm thinking it may be a live stream, or it could be just another video where I showcase other painters' Barbarians that they painted for HeroQuest. So if you want to showcase your Barbarian, if you have HeroQuest, you want to showcase it, take a nice little picture, send it to us at boardgamemaniacs@gmail.com. We'll be sure to pick a couple of them and do a quick showcase so that we can look at them. I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for sticking in with me. Thanks for the subscribing to the channel, the likes, the comments, and don't forget about the Patreon too as well. I'm picking up some more, so I thank everybody for all of your support. And just remember, no matter how dim life can be at times, or how challenging it can be, you'll get through it. You just have to concentrate and get down. And also remember, the most important thing of all, well, especially when you're playing board games, and that is to be a maniac. We'll see you on the next video. Bye bye. 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 Hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to keep up to date with Board Game Maniacs, click on the like and subscribe button to be notified when more videos come available. If you want to become an official sponsor of Board Game Maniacs, go to patreon.com/BoardGameManiacs. Or you can go to streamlabs.com/BoardGameManiacs1. That's right, and you can donate to help keep the lights on, keep food in our bellies, and play more games. We'll purchase more games, more equipment to make Board Game Maniacs evolve and get bigger and larger. Because of you, the viewers, I thank you from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head for all of your support. And until next time, Board Game Maniacs, be a maniac.